Today I'm thankful for you. Hey y'all, it's me, the bus person, and welcome back to Hot or Rot. And today I'll be reviewing episode 9 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Series 5. Our final 4 fish and chips were challenged to step into the ring and tell jokes Draggiator style in this season's roast, and the runway category was Poofs on Parade. So we'll break down each queen's performance as I saw it, and then end with an analysis of which queen has how many badges and what they're for, and which queen I think will take the crown. And first up, and in the order they entered the roasting ring tonight, Tomara Thomas, who definitely tried something unique in her flavor of roast tonight amongst the queens. But unfortunately, it was kind of hard to pick up what she was throwing down. There's weren't a lot of jokes in her roast, and it felt more like a meandering shade session where she would sometimes break out into a crazy screaming goblin. And I'll say what she did definitely had energy and was entertaining at points, but it was kind of like her Mrs. Doubtfire snatch game where she would be funny in these crazy eccentric moments and then slide back into a character that overall just wasn't very prepared. So I give this roast a rot, but what she did on the runway in the orange gown, Gagatrondra. This gown was absolutely gorgeous, and also refreshing to see that she does indeed own enough fabric to cover up her body. She truly has been the queen of less is more this season on the runway, and don't get me wrong, it has worked pretty much every single time exceptionally well, but it was nice to see her do something a little more different and modest, even if it was totally see-through. And it seems she mostly played with the poof part of the brief in the ruffled skirt rouging in the bottom of her dress. Those ruffly layers down there move really well while she's on the runway, and I think she's created a really strong silhouette with that huge tall beehive, and she looks absolutely stunning. Michelle seemed a little bit bothered that some of the corsetry could be seen through the dress, but I didn't really notice that as a viewer, and my only critique on this was she maybe could have done more with the poof, because this gown really could be worn for any number of occasions and didn't feel super dedicated directly to this runway, but was gorgeous nonetheless, and I'm gonna give it a hot. And next up, DeDeLicious, who, let's go ahead and touch on the drama involving her this episode. Miss Vicki had something to say about her, and it was not very nice. So in the untucked portion of the episode, when all the queens are kikiing in the back, Miss Vicki Vivacious takes a moment to talk about her "I love most of you" mirror message, pointing out that the queen who she had a problem with in this season was actually DeDeLicious. She apparently left a really bad taste in Vicki's mouth after the premiere, and she went on to call DeDe very sneaky. Thank you, Vicki, for the entertainment. Anywho, on to DeDe's roast. The first thing I noticed about what Miss DeDe was cooking up on that stage was she really did have a joke for like every single person in the room. And she was well rehearsed with honestly a lot of good material, and she had one of my favorite jokes of the entire night when she was reading Rupaul. Guess who's back in the house walking stick click-clacking about? That's good. That's good stuff. Like, it was clear here that Vicki wanted to do better than she had done in previous comedy and vocal delivery challenges, and absolutely rose to the occasion. Her downfall was that it seems she only practiced one delivery for every single joke she wrote, which made every single joke sound the same. And as she worked the audience between some of those or broken that pattern really in any way, I think she would have had less trouble with the jokes that were flopping, of which I would say just about as many flopped as actually were very funny. But even if one of her jokes didn't land, like when she said there's only 2 fake things about Tomara, her face, it was clear she had at least really thought about what she was doing, and I'm gonna give her a safe hot tonight. Plus on the runway, girl, all the glitters is gold. This is the best DeDeLicious has looked on the RuPaul's Drag Race runway, period, point blank. Like, Miss DeDe is giving expensive, perfectly wrapped Christmas presents sitting under that tree just waiting for you to pick her up. And a lot of my critiques in episodes past have focused on her looks doing like a little too much and the concepts being lost in the sauce. But here she's really lasered in on that too muchness with only the gold concept and the giant poof sleeves, the bow on the back. And her silhouette is clearly defined, that mug stamped, and hair, gorgeous. This look is definitely hot. And next up, the other Ginger Johnson, who comes into the roast literally bouncing, like you can see her wig constantly bouncing with everything that she says, which is to say there was a lot of energy in what she did, and the delivery was very strong. She starts off immediately by taking a jab at Miss DeDeLicious, who came before her. I love that she was absolutely not afraid to go in on the girls, talking about how Michael paints for the back of the row in Australia at the Institute for the Blind, and how Tomara is so orange that she even makes Michael look human. Plus the Kate Butch hairline read into the RuPaul joke about the 90s, which I can't say because of, you know, the monetization issue, but solid. Her material was so good, plus I think she was the first one to really truly give that wrestling show host energy on the microphone. And the only critique the judges had for Miss Ginger tonight was about the cards that she was holding, which yes, did become distracting to a point, but I think every single one of her jokes landed, so we can't be too mad about that. So I'd give this roast a and on the runway, she is giving us Attack of the Killer Clowns from space. At the Pride Parade, I'm getting Rainbow Bright, I'm getting Ball Pit, I'm getting Golden Showers, Bring May Flowers, and Miss Ginger looks absolutely stunning tonight. And this look is, I think, the perfect embodiment of her campy, over-the-top drag. Like, girl, she's so poofed out in that gown, you could pitch a tent under there. This look is hot. And finishing out the roast tonight, we've got Michael Marouli. And honestly, I didn't think it was possible to get any funnier after that set that Ginger gave, but what Michael did up there was a new standard. And with her throwing her own cards aside at the beginning of her set, was planned or not, it was the perfect jab at Ginger's card fiasco that was going on, because she in one instance without saying said, "You're an amateur and I'm a professional. I have every single one of my jokes memorized." Like, girl, she did gag me a little bit for sure. I'll be honest. And the material, let's look at the material. Triple badge winner, triple threat, triple heart bypass, which led into a joke about strokes and RuPaul, and then a growth on Ru's shoulder, which turns out to be Michelle. Comedy gold, she did great. Plus, she did a really great job with the pacing in her set, taking time to speak slow enough for everyone to laugh, and then also check the pulse and ask for audience interaction, like when she made everybody look at Tomara and say, "Filth." Now everybody look at Michael Marouli and say, but for as great as her roast was, her runway was bad. It was really bad, and I have loved a lot of what Michael has done on the runway this season. She has taken risks and done extremely extravagant things like that beach background postcard look, that giant heart. This is stuff that stays with you in your memory because it's so new and different for Drag Race. And this look too will stay with me in my memory, but not by choice. It must be noted and congratulated though that she is 100% on brief with the poof idea and I suppose the parade concept. Like, she is her own parade. There's so many poofs in this look, but it really is just a mess because there's so much fabric, of which she says there are 27 meters of puffer jacket fabric. Had she had just the giant hood or just one part of the side of her dress in giant poofs or one leg or something, right? It maybe could have worked, but she literally looks like a giant blue trash bag as she's walking across the runway and is completely swallowed alive by all these poofs here, there, and everywhere. It's giving Ghostbusters villain. It's giving Michelin Man. And the last I'll say on this is puff puff pass. This look is a and our win tonight goes to Michael Marouli, no surprise, earning her third badge in the competition so far. And our bottom two are Tomara and DeDeLicious. And by the way, I did react to this lip sync over on my Patreon at patreon.com/BussyQueen. That's my members only website where my Patreon family gets exclusive member benefits like early access to my YouTube videos and access to exclusive videos. And you too can join my Patreon family and help support the Bussy Queen channel financially every single month with the pledge just by clicking the link in the description of this video. See you there. But concerning this lip sync, we've got DeDe, our resident lip sync assassin, going into the bottom for her 4th time, and Tomara for her 1st. And the precedent off the bat, we know, would be DeDe's probably gonna go home and Tomara's gonna stay if she does even like a half decent job. But girl, Miss DeDe did not go down without a fight. I was gagged, actually. Tomara beat her, I think, like by a hair with some extra dance moves, but both of these queens were on fire the entire lip sync. I was mesmerized, entranced, I was gooped, I was gagged, I was like on the actual edge of my seat, and I wouldn't have been mad about a double Shantae, but yeah, I agree with the Tomara win. And I've got to say, this was probably the best way possible for DeDe to exit the competition. She is looking the best she probably ever has, did good in the challenge, and killed 4 lip syncs. And it was so cool, I think, to watch her throughout this season because we kind of witnessed an on-season glow up, which is more rare, I think, in today's modern Drag Race. But she listened to the judges in terms of makeup critique and went from someone who struggled in these, we'll call them vocal delivery challenges like Disaster Class, Snatch Game, and Rusical to somebody who looked very confident on stage. So with that, I'll say props to you, mama. Which leaves us with our final 3 heading into the finale next week. We've got Ginger with 3 repeater badges from the Disaster Class, Hanto Dames, and Snatch Game challenges. Michael, also for Disaster Class, the Makeover and Roast this week, and Tomara with only 1 badge from Disaster Class. Wow, the Disaster Class trio. It's a conspiracy. And I'll say all 3 of these queens have been extremely entertaining throughout this season. Sure, I would have loved to have seen a place here for Caramel and maybe even Kate Butch, but these spots are all well deserved. And if I were a betting woman, I would guess Ru is probably, depending on what happens next week, planning on crowning Michael or Tomara because they both feel more different to who the Drag Race UK franchise has crowned in the past, which is not shade to Giniger, but just highlighting that the campy comedy winner, if you will, has been filled several times before here. Whereas Michael is fresher for this franchise with that showgirls aesthetic and larger than life looks. And Tomara, I'd say, is second likely to win if she does well in the finale, because she represents that newer, fresh face that RuPaul likes to crown as the future of drag from time to time. But of course, I'd love to know what y'all thought about this episode and who you think's gonna win next week. Let me know down in the comments below. Are you Team Giniger, Team Michael, or Team Tomara? And finally, it's time for Hottest Hots. And the challenge, of course, I'm gonna give it to Michael, and on the runway, DeDeLicious. And I also asked my patrons to vote on their Hottest Hots, and this week they've chosen Michael Marouli for the roast and DeDeLicious on the runway. And finally, I want to say thanks to you for watching today's video and give an extra special shout out to Ashley Brungard, Dorothy Hall, Felicia, Frankie, Jeffrey Steenberg, Laura, Matthew Burns, Sailor, Sharkies, Steven, Topher, Tyler Hendricks, MD, and Will and Tana, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen collector tier over at patreon.com/BussyQueen. See you later. Love ya. Bye.